Hello, welcome everybody on Zoom. We'll wait for our few friends to join us on Instagram Live. We're getting a very nice audience over there. And of course to our wonderful friends on Facebook Live as well. Welcome. We'll give it just a few moments to collect our Jews and our thoughts together. A fascinating class tonight. Very deep. Hey, Ronnie. A lot of wonderful ideas I want to share with you in the short amount of time. I'm going to crunch a very big topic into a small, enjoyable, consumable capsule for everyone to enjoy. Just give it a few more moments as we gather people together, which is really what tonight's topic is all about. Great to see you all. I never know where to look again. I look at Instagram, Facebook, Zoom. I'll look everywhere. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Hi, Rebecca. That's nice. Okay, welcome. Hey, Flora. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, dear friends. Time to go. We have an amazing discussion this evening. And the topic is actually two seemingly very different topics that we are going to try somehow to connect together. And they are Shabbat and Olam Haba, the next world. Now we have to define both of those terms, both of those concepts. Once we define our terms and concepts, then we're going to try very hard to marry them together to reveal some very crucial and relevant information to everyone who is listening and watching tonight. So let's begin at the beginning. Let's define our terms. The first term we're going to have to give a short description of is what exactly is Olam Haba, the next world? What is that concept really all about? So the word Olam Haba usually refers, or the next world, or really the best word is the days to come, the world to come is probably a better explanation or translation, refers to three possibilities but only really means one of them. When we talk about the next world, some people take it to mean where a person's soul goes to after they die. That isn't technically true. That's called Olam HaNeshamot, the world of souls, or that's referred to as Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. Those are the two expressions to describe something which we're not going to talk about this evening, which is where a person's soul goes to when they die. The next expression of Olam Haba is actually talking about Yomot HaMashiach, where Mashiach, the Messiah, will come in this world and begin a whole new existence of love and peace and prosperity. We've spoken about that before. We're going to speak about that again, but that's actually not tonight's topic. What we're talking about is really after a period of time. We're not too sure, different opinions, how long that period of time is after the Messiah comes, after peace is going to reign over the entire world, and after resurrection of the dead, which is another topic, not for now. After that will begin really Olam Haba, the world to come. There's not too much written in the prophets about what the world is going to be like after Tchiat HaMetim. There's a lot written on the Messiah. A lot. What the world is going to be like before, right before, during, and right after. But this period we're talking about now, we don't have too much information of, but we do have some analogies, some metaphors. And one of the most famous metaphors of this idea is, of course, Shabbat. Okay? So Shabbat is a seventh of your life, because the seventh of your week is spent in this world called Shabbat, which we're going to talk about. And we're also going to see, I'm going to jump to the end and then explain a little bit what I mean, or actually more than a little bit. We're going to see that Shabbat is the portal. It is the gateway into Olam Haba for anyone who wants to enjoy it. So the next world can be acquired in a number of ways, mostly how we act in this world. But we're going to see that one mitzvah was separated out from all the other mitzvot, from all the wonderful commandments we have in our Torah, and that is Shabbat. Shabbat and Olam Haba are inexplicably linked together, my friends. If you're in the world of Shabbat, you are in the world of Olam Haba, in the next world. Let me explain a little bit more. In order to do that, let's go into Shabbat a little bit. Let's do a little bit of a history, because Shabbat has a long history. And when I say long, I mean longer than pretty much any other mitzvah. There's a few which come around the same time, not for now, but Shabbat goes right back to the beginning of creation. You see, pretty much all the mitzvot were given to us at Mount Sinai, at Har Sinai. Shabbat is different. Shabbat goes back to the beginning of the world. We know that God created the world in 6 days, and God rested on the 7th day. And Shabbat is the only day of the week, my friends, that has a name. Because in Jewish thought, in Torah, in biblical, rabbinic Hebrew, Sunday is Yom Rishon, LeShabbat, day 1, which goes towards Shabbat. Monday is day 2, Yom Sheni. Tuesday is day 3, Yom Shlishi. So the days of the week have numbers. Numbers mean that they don't have too much significance because they are a build-up. A build-up to what? To the top of the week, which is the only day which has a name, which is Shabbat. But what does the word Shabbat actually mean? We know what Olam Haba refers to. What does the word Shabbat actually mean? So many people kind of refer to it as rest, as resting. Now people misunderstand that because they think that resting means, I don't know, I'll play a round of golf, I'll sleep all day. This is not what Shabbat was created for. There is a restful nature to Shabbat, but Shabbat actually comes from the word shuv. Shuv means to return. Who is returning where? Well, it depends who you are. Some people are returning to their families. Some people are returning to their friends. Some of us, God willing, all of us are returning to Hashem, to God. And of course, most importantly, we're all returning to ourselves. The real selves that maybe we lost sight of during the week. And so Shabbat is one day of the week, the last day of the week, and the most important day of the week that occurred at the end of creation, which gives us a chance to return to ourselves, return to God, return to being spiritual beings. That's what Shabbat is. Now, if you look at Shabbat that way, you should start to materialize in your minds a little bit that there is a little connection to something much bigger than just a day off. Because Shabbat, my friends, is actually the ability for us to become spiritual beings. For 6 days of the week, we get to pray a little bit, we'll learn a little bit of Torah, and we'll hang out, and we're working very, very hard, whether we're studying or trying to make a living. But when Shabbat comes, we're in a whole different world. We're in a world which is really called Yom Shel Hashem, God Day. You see, every other Jewish holiday is all about us. We keep Passover because we need to go free and to remember what happened to our ancestors in Egypt. And we keep Yom Kippur because we want to get rid of our sins. And we keep Sukkot because we want to build faith and happiness in God and ourselves. So what's Shabbat about? Shabbat is all about God. Shabbat is God Day. It's one day of the week that we're meant to stop and think there's a higher purpose to our lives. We're not just running in this rat race. We stop and we celebrate and we eat and we drink. And actually Shabbat, my friends, most people don't even know this, is the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. It's holier than any holiday. It's holier than Yom Kippur. It's got more Kedusha, more holiness than any other day. Actually, the first time we see the word holiness appear in the Bible, in the Torah, the word kadosh, it is said in reference to Shabbat. Because we have holy places, synagogues, a chuppah, the temple in Jerusalem, but we also have holy times. Time for us is like a place. We can visit it. We travel through this world and we get to various stations through time, just like you can geographically. So too, when you travel, you're going to travel and arrive at a place, and you can also travel through the week until you arrive at a place which is a time. and it's the best time. It is kadosh. The word kadosh literally means separate, distinct, apart, not like anything else. So now we know a few things about Shabbat. Shabbat isn't just about sleeping and doing nothing. It's about us connecting to a higher cause, to ourselves, to God. Stopping once we can thinking maybe there's a bigger purpose to life than just working like a rat in the wheel. Maybe I should stop and focus on my family, my friends, my community, on myself. Maybe Shabbat has a higher purpose. It is also kadosh. It is the holiest time in the entire year, a place where we visit and we're able to cocoon ourselves in something so important and so yummy and delicious, and we eat and drink and celebrate on our physical with our family, and this is the time we are told to do it. There are two words that are used to describe Shabbat in the Bible. We are told to shamor et Shabbat and zachor et Shabbat. And these two words appear in the Ten Commandments because Shabbat is the only ceremony that is mentioned in the Ten Commandments. It's actually commandment number 4 of 10. Yom Kippur does not appear. Sukkot does not appear, but Shabbat does appear. Come on. The fact that Shabbat made God's top 10 mitzvot means there's something very special about it and something very purposeful about this day, not just a day off after a hard week. The word Zachor means to remember. We have to remember Shabbat. How do you forget Shabbat? Of course you remember it. And the answer is you have to make a memory out of it. You remember Shabbat every single day of the week, and Shabbat should be a memorable experience. If you look back on your lives, your average Tuesday, unless there's a big event, is not going to be so memorable. Friday morning, not so memorable. Every Shabbat should stand out as a memorable, holy, exquisite experience. It's also a day you have to remember every single day of the week. That's actually a mitzvah, one of the commandments. If you're walking around on Sunday morning and you see a nice piece of fruit, you're like, wow, I'm buying that in honor of Shabbat. And then on Tuesday, you see a better piece of fruit. You're like, I'm going to eat the one I bought Sunday morning now, and this one I'll put forward for Shabbat. Or you see a nice piece of meat or a nice item of clothing. Zeh lichvod Shabbat. There's a mitzvah to remember Shabbat every single day of the week because you're looking forward to it. You're counting the days. That's why the days of the week are numbers, because we're counting the days up to that point, the high point of the week. Most people think the week goes down. Starts Saturday night, the high point, and then all the way down till you reach next Saturday. No! It starts low and it builds up to the mountain, the pinnacle that is Shabbat. Okay. Now let's start to tie our two concepts together. Oh, by the way, another word, shamor, which means to guard. We guard Shabbat. We want to keep it precious, just like jewelry or expensive items we guard and we keep held in a special place. So too Shabbat has a very guarded special place. So zachor, remember, means all the positive mitzvot we do on Shabbat, making kiddush, our meals, lighting the candles, havdalah. Shamor means to guard, means all the things we're not allowed to do on Shabbat. So those two expressions were said when the Torah was given, and they were said in one voice, and they are connected. Now Shabbat is going to have a much bigger role in world history. Someone once said very beautifully, more than the Jews keep Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jews. That expression I don't believe was said about any other mitzvah. I'll tell you something else which the Talmud tells us from thousands of years ago. The Talmud tells us that God had a conversation with Moses. And he said, you know what? There's something very important you need to know. Says God, I have a very special gift, a matana tova, a great gift. Bebeit ginzai, in my treasure house. V'ani rotzeh leten et zeh leYudim, and I want to give it to Am Yisrael, to the Jewish people. Lech leodiam, go and tell them. Unusual expression, saying. Says God, I have a special gift. Well, let's start from the beginning. The fact that God refers to Shabbat as a special gift must mean that it's very, very special to God. Because God doesn't describe anything else in this world, even any other mitzvah, as a special gift. He only refers to this one day, this one mitzvah of all the 613 as a gift. And he says, I want to give it as a gift to the Jewish people. If someone gives you a precious, expensive gift, you are grateful for it. But you also want to use it right. Because just because you're given a gift doesn't mean it can't be taken away, heaven forbid. And Shabbat is one of those special gifts that we have to be given, understand that it's a gift, and appreciate it every single moment. Now listen very carefully. There are 6 days of the week, and then we have Shabbat. Okay? We go from Sunday, or Yom Rishon, and we count till we get to Shabbat. 6 days, and then Shabbat. Now, that figuration literally should jog something in your mind, because we know that the world can only exist for 6,000 years as it is. 6,000 years as it is. How do we know that? Because the first verse in the Bible hints at it. The letter Aleph appears 6 times in the first verse of the Bible. And the letter Aleph, when you spell it out, Aleph, Lamed, Fei, also spells Aleph. Say the Kabbalists, you learn from this hint that there are 6 Aleph, 6,000 years that the world can exist as is before the Messiah comes, and Olam Haba, the next world, begins in this world. And so we have 6 days till we get to Shabbat. And it can't be a coincidence, because it isn't, that we have 6,000 years until the next world must begin. And so we can see that just like we prepare ourselves during the week to enter into Shabbat, so too we prepare ourselves throughout history to prepare ourselves into the next world. And the two are connected, because the best thing a person can do to prepare themselves for the next world is to enjoy, I use that word specifically, enjoy Shabbat. It is a mitzvah to enjoy Shabbat. It's called Oneg Shabbat. Oneg Shabbat. What does that mean? To enjoy, to eat the best food, wear your best clothing, use your best dishes, and to sing and to smile and to pray with happiness without being rushed. That's what Shabbat is all about. The Talmud says, if a person listen very carefully, if a person prepares themselves on Erev Shabbat, they get to eat on Shabbat. Well, that's obvious. If you prepare Erev Shabbat before Shabbat, of course you eat on Shabbat. If you don't prepare your food Erev Shabbat, you can't cook on Shabbat, one of the forbidden activities. What is the Talmud? What secret is the Talmud telling us, my friends? I'm going to tell you. The preparation of preparing your food on Erev Shabbat so you can eat on Shabbat is a metaphor for preparing yourself in this world. Preparing yourself physically and emotionally and spiritually in order to enjoy yourself in the next world. Because Shabbat is a microcosm of the next world. Many people say to me, what is the Jewish view of heaven? What is the Jewish view? Is it angels flying around, right? Babies with wings, shooting arrows, playing a harp? I hope not. I mean, I love babies. They're not flying ones, and especially not harp playing. No. The idea of the next world is actually given to us in this world. God wouldn't just say, you know what? There's this amazing thing called Olam Haba. It's coming. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. It's not the way it works. What actually happens is that Hashem gave us a microcosm, a metaphor, an analogy, a living example of what the next world is. And that is Shabbat. What's the Jewish view of heaven? You may be asked that many times by people, and the answer is Shabbat. Actually, the next world is really called the world that is all Shabbat, Yom Shekula Shabbat. That's one of the ways the rabbis refer to Olam Haba, the next world, the world that is all Shabbat. Why would that be? Because just like you can't work in the next world, you can't do anything else, you're just connecting to God, so too on Shabbat. There's no more creation. There's no more creative activity. It's just you, your loved ones, which you'll get to see in the next world, and God, and of course yourself. And so, my friends, Shabbat has become more than just a day of rest. It's become a living example a metaphor, and an entryway into the next world and of the next world itself. So if someone says the Jewish view of heaven, you say Shabbat. And if they're like, what are you talking about? Are you telling me that Shabbat is one big cholent? I guess it is. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But that's what it is. It's a day of enjoyment and contentment of just being present. Not looking to the past, not looking to the future, being present now. And that's what the next world is. The next world is not past or future. It is who you are. Whatever you create of yourself in this world, you will get to enjoy of yourself in the next world. However you prepare for Shabbat in this world, you get to enjoy in the next world. Another area of Shabbat. And let's talk about another word, which I hear a lot of, and people say it probably in Hebrew more than any other word in their prayers, and especially the Bible. And most people don't even know what the word means. And the word is Baruch, which we translate to mean blessed. Baruch atah Hashem. Blessed are you, God. What does that mean, blessed are you, God? Are we blessing God? Does God need our blessings? No. God does not need our blessings. So what precisely are we saying when we say Baruch atah Hashem? What does the word Baruch actually mean? Well, let's go back once again to the first time it's mentioned in the Bible. The Kabbalists tell us the first time a word appears in the Torah is where it gets its energy and its meaning from. The first time a word appears in the Bible and the Torah is where you get to see it in action at its birth, and you'll understand what the word is. Interestingly, the first time the root word Baruch or Berach appears in the Bible, in the Torah, it's actually talking about fish. God created the fish and he blessed them. Why did God give a special blessing to the fish and not the other animals? Because we need a lot of them. Oceans cover most of the world. We're going to have to fill the world, the oceans up with lots and lots and lots of fish. And therefore God went out of his way to bless the fish, meaning to make them plentiful. So the word Baruch, says Rashi, is connected to the word Ribui, which means to multiply. So when the word blessing appears, it's referring to the source of plentifulness. Lots. Blessing means lots. And the source of something. The Hebrew word for a pool of water is a brecha. Modern Hebrew is a swimming pool. But actually it's like a geyser or a fountain. The word berkayim are knees. The word for blessing is the same as the word for knees. Why would that be? Because without your knees, you couldn't propel yourself forward. You couldn't go forward in life. So the word Baruch means plentiful, lots of good stuff. It gives us the ability through our blessings to be able to propel ourselves forward, and it is the source of all blessings. So we refer to God as blessed. We are saying that God is the source of all blessings. Got it? Now, Shabbat is the second time we see the word Baruch mentioned in the Torah and the Bible. That means that Shabbat is the source of all blessing. If that blessing is financial blessing, whether that blessing is spiritual blessing, whether it's health, wealth, you name it, Shabbat is called Makor HaBracha, the source of all blessings in this world. Think of a garden, and you walk into this lovely garden, and there's trees and lush vegetables and flowers. You're like, wow, how's all of this garden being sourced? And you see a pool of water, and from it, water is now going out, feeding the rest of the garden. So too, my friends, Shabbat is the source of all blessings. If you have a great day on Wednesday, Shabbat gave it to you. If you have an amazing Tuesday morning in a deal of business, actually it was Shabbat. Shabbat is the Makor HaBracha. So too, the next world is the culmination of all blessings. And so Shabbat is not only helping us in this world, by preparing us and helping us center ourselves, connecting us to God, connecting us to each other, it's also centering us into the next world, which is the culmination of all blessings. And so Shabbat, Shamor, guarding, Zachor, remembering, actually is the coming together, and it is the portal. How do we earn the next world in Judaism? How do we get the most out of this world and the next world? How do we tap into the ultimate holiness of this world? First time the word holy appears, Shabbat. How about Baruch, the source of all blessings? Where does that come from? That comes from Shabbat as well. Says the Talmud, prepare yourself Erev Shabbat so you can eat on Shabbat. Prepare, which is a metaphor for prepare yourself in this world in order to enjoy the next world. Because that's where we're all going, like it or not. Let's go even deeper. I know we've spoken about some very deep, amazing ideas. Let's go a little deeper. And I want to talk to you about one of the most famous fractions in Judaism. A famous fraction. Who would have thought that Rabbi Hagioff would have fractions in tonight's class? This is not my fraction. This fraction actually appears in the Gemara, in the Talmud. And the Talmud gives us a very famous fraction, which many of you may have heard about if you've ever studied the laws of kosher, kashrut. What is the fraction? 1/60, a 60th. What is that fraction? Well, when it comes to kosher, if something non-kosher accidentally falls into something that is kosher, and there are 60 times the amount of kosher food or liquid compared to the non-kosher food or liquid that went in, you are allowed to still eat that food. So if I'm making a large pot of soup, chicken soup, meat soup, whatever it is, and a little bit of, I don't know, pig juice falls inside that soup, you're like, oh my goodness, we Jews don't eat pig. We don't dig swine. Can I still eat the soup? The answer is yes, if there are 60 parts kosher soup to 1 part non-kosher food. Actually, in American society, it's a 50th actually, right? If a 50th of something falls into a product, you don't actually have to list it in the ingredients in a product according to American law. In Judaism, it's a 60th, interestingly enough. Hold that fraction for a moment. The Talmud tells us that some things in this world are a 60th of something else. Sleep is a 60th of death. Dreams are a 60th of prophecy. Fire is a 60th of Gehenna, hell. Honey is a 60th of the manna, the food the Jewish people ate in the desert. And Shabbat is a 60th of the next world. What is going on? Food, kosher, dreams, sleep, manna, honey. What is going on over here? 60th means just the existence of one thing into another. You've gone from existence to non-existence, say the Kabbalists. It's a very deep idea. Follow well and re-listen to this class if you have to. A 60th as a fraction in Judaism means something that goes from existence to non-existence. It's on the cusp of that which exists to that which does not exist. That's why this non-kosher food, this piece of pig, falls into my cholent. There's 60 parts. You can eat it. But somehow, somewhere in that kosher stew, there's a piece of pig. Don't worry. It's like it doesn't exist anymore. The taste of it is gone. It's dissipated. You can eat it. Fascinating law. And that's the halacha. That is the Jewish law. And so too, prophecy can be found just a little bit in a person's dream. And death can be just tasted in sleep. And Gehenna can be just tasted if a person were to feel fire, the shame of Gehenna. And so to the man. People want to say, I want to taste the man of the Jews ate in the desert. That can be tasted if you taste honey. If you want to know what the next world is, you want a little taste, a very small taste, because it can't encompass all of it. What you need to do is enter into Shabbat. Shabbat, my friends, the feeling of satisfaction, of completion, of no more work to be done, of connecting to a higher source. If you do Shabbat properly, at least once in your life, you get to enjoy Shabbat for eternity. That's what the Talmud says. And we sing about this. One of the famous songs, which I heard as a kid and I played for my children, Actually comes from the Talmud. Just one Shabbos and we'll all be free. I'm not a singer, so I'm going to stop over there. That's what, I don't know, someone sang it, MBD, Uncle Moshe, I remember who. Anyway, I have a constant loop of Jewish songs I've played for my kids over years, running in my head like a constant tape. Just one Shabbos, we'll all be free. That's the very famous song. You can look it up online after class. Just one Shabbos. Where does that come from? The Talmud. The Gemara says that if we kept one Shabbat, the Messiah would come. What a strange statement to make. If you keep one Shabbat, the Messiah comes. What is the Talmud telling us? And by the way, what does that mean? Me. I've kept Shabbat many times, I hope. There's no Messiah. It means as a collective, as a people, if everyone keeps Shabbat, if we were able to really enjoy Shabbat, redemption would come. Because Shabbat triggers redemption. There is a redemptive quality, a personal redemption I can feel on Shabbat, and a national, historical redemption that comes with keeping Shabbat as well. And that takes us into Olam Haba, into the next world. What? Let's just summarize everything very quickly because we've run out of time. What is the Jewish view of heaven, of the next world? It's very simple, Shabbat. What does that mean? You sit and you just are. And you get to enjoy the fruits of your labors without having to create anymore. 6 days takes you into the seventh day. And Shabbat is 6,000 years of world history that gets you into Olam Haba, which is the next world. I'll just talk about numbers for a minute, a little bit of numerology. I know many people love numerology. I'll teach you about the number 6 and then the number 7. And if you're lucky, we'll do the number 8, probably nearer Hanukkah. Let's do the number 6, the number 7. We know that everything has 6 dimensions in this world. Right? There's top, bottom, sides, 4 sides, top, bottom, that comes to 6. So 6 represents everything that is in this world, has 6 dimensions, right? Top, bottom, and 4 sides. But actually, there's a 7th dimension. How could that be? There's only 6 sides to a box. How could there be, or a cube? How could there be a 7th dimension? Well, 6 represents disparity. 6 items, but they're all held apart. Imagine I have 6 sides to a box, but they're all laid out in my room. I don't have a box yet. Everything I need is there. What I need to do is to put it together. So too, there are 6 days of the week. And what we're going to do is we're going to put them all together and enjoy the 7th principle. What is the 7th dimension? It's the pulling together, the coming together of the 6 days of the week, of the 6 sides of the box. So there are more than 6. There is a 7th dimension. There's a 7th side, if you will, and that is the interior of the box. It is the coming together, the pulling together of those 6 sides creates something. So 6 days of the week mean nothing. They're just like 6 sides of the box that haven't been pulled together, have no use. But when Shabbat comes, they all come together and create a whole new unity, a unified piece that puts the other first 6 days into perspective. Just like 6 sides of a box are meaningless unless they're pulled together. That pulling together, that unification of the 6 sides is the 7th dimension. So too, 6,000 years of history make no sense. We have no idea what's going on. Why do all these terrible things happen? So much unknown in this world. But when the next world begins, just like Shabbat pulls together the 6 days of the week, so too the 7th dimension is Olam Haba. That's when the 7,000 years begin. And all the other 6,000 years of history will be pulled together and we'll be able to make use and understand everything that happened throughout world history. It all comes together as the 7th dimension pulls it. Another time, I'll tell you about the 8th dimension, which goes way, way beyond this. And maybe if you're lucky, we'll talk about the 9th dimension, which Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto speaks about as well. But we'll save that for another time. For now, we need to know that Shabbat is not just a day off. It's a day. It's not a Shabbat off. It's a Shabbat on. You'll enjoy my pun. Thank you so much. I'll be here all night. Enjoy the chicken. Shabbat is the coming together of the first 6 days of the week. When we're enjoying Shabbat, we're doing more than just sleeping and resting. We're getting to know ourselves, getting to find a spiritual aspect. We stop working, so enjoy it. Bring it all together. We are now part of the next world. The next world is pulled together and created. How? By preparing ourselves in Olam Hazeh. Every day of the week is preparation for Shabbat. Every one of the 6,000 years is preparation for the next world. The best way to prepare your soul for Olam Haba is to practice in this world, because God gave us a world of practice, and that is Shabbat. I don't think I can wish you Shabbat Shalom yet. It's only Tuesday night. Really, tomorrow I can. Another time we'll talk about how actually Wednesday is the beginning of Shabbat, and Tuesday completes the Shabbat that goes before. That's another discussion. When we talk about the menorah in the temple, I'll speak more about that. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, do please share this with your friends. It's on Instagram. It's on Facebook Live. I'll see you all tomorrow at 12 o'clock when we will be discussing the most difficult mitzvah, which is honoring your father and your mother. Have a wonderful day. 12 o'clock, same channel. I'll see you all then. Thank you.